I'm Chris Cloud, and when I was born, my family was very poor. They were missionaries living in a developing country of Nepal, and really both of them came from no money at all, and really didn't have much means, and but they made it work. And when I was born, I don't know, a lot of people know think of Kathmandu, Nepal. They think of Himalayas, or they think of trekking in the mountains and that sort of thing typically. But in the early 80s, it was a very poor, very country, very little infrastructure. And when I was born in the local hospital of Shantabowen, there were stray dogs in the hospital room, and my dad was shooing them out. And it was very much a that kind of experience. But in that culture, my mom was a nurse, and she had been serving a lot of people that were in poverty, really. And in that culture, it's customary that upon the birth of a child, your friends would give you a gift. And so people would bring gifts. But this one lady that my mom had become friends with, she really didn't have anything. And so she brought basically 2 paisa, which is their kind of currency, which at the time would have been like maybe $2 now in American money in America. And so it was just very little money. It was just 2 coins that she gave my mother on my behalf. And my mom, being an enterprising lady, who was scrappy and trying to make ends meet, she took those coins down to the market and ended up buying a couple of little trinkets in the market, like some earrings, very cheap. And then when they came back to the States to visit, she brought those with her and was able to sell them for about $4. And so she now had $4, and she took it and bought a little toy in America, took that back to Nepal, something that would have been rare there, and then resold it and made another $4. So now she had about $8. And she kept doing that. So then she went and bought some little collector knives in the market in Nepal, brought those back to the States, sold them, doubled her money, went back, bought some radios here in America, went and sold those in Nepal, doubled her money, bought like a couple of big collector's knives, what they call kukris. They're kind of a Gurkha soldier knife, but people use them as decorative knives to hang up on the wall. She brought those back, sold them, doubled her money again. Kept just reinvesting those original two coins, 2 pennies, and kept doubling her money. And for her, and I've asked her a lot about this, and she said, I just kept praying what God would have me to do with the money, and I just kept looking for opportunities, and my goal was just to double the money, just to make 100% return on it every time. And so she kept doing that. By the time they moved back to the States, they moved to an island in Washington State, and she was able to save up about $300. So by this time, she had a little more money to work with, and she took that $300 and she bought a dog. And she bought a Yorkshire Terrier with the money. And she had a little experience when she was a teenager helping her sister who would breed dogs. She had a little experience, but not much. And so she took and bred that Yorkie and had puppies and was able to sell the puppies. This was kind of before many people were doing this at all. And so she doubled her money again. Again, no new money, no new investment, just the original 2 coins that she would reinvest. She kept doing that, and then eventually she bought another Yorkshire Terrier and bred that one, and then we had 2 Yorkies, and then eventually she bought a Labrador Retriever, and we had a Lab now, and we had Lab puppies, and then she bought a Dalmatian, and we had Dalmatian puppies, and they had Schnauzers, and so we had this whole dog business that I would clean up the poop and feed the dogs and help out growing up. So the dog business did pretty well, and then eventually she decided to invest in a horse. So she bought a horse, and she bought a quarter horse, and the horse, they tried to breed the horse, it didn't do so well. Bought another horse, that didn't do so great, but anyway, she kept going with the dog business and eventually saved up about $20,000. And she was praying, what do I do with this $20,000? What do I do with this money? And she looked for opportunities. She had no experience in real estate, but she found this opportunity to buy a piece of land on the island we lived on. and actually found out it was more valuable than people realized, bought it on auction, and was able to turn around and flip it and sell it for $40,000. So she doubled her money again. And then she found another plot of land and invested in that. And then had about $60,000 at that point, and kept doing that, buying small parcels of land and selling them. Again, praying, Lord, what should I do with the money? And then no new investment the entire time. So at this point, she had a nice little nest egg saved up, and she was looking for an opportunity and found this 90-acre plot near our house, and found a creative way to leverage the money she had and was able to buy that plot of land. It was beautiful 90 acres with ponds on it and big fir trees, and I grew up kind of hunting on that land, learning how to hunt. But basically she figured out a creative way to sell some of the larger trees for lumber, and so they were able to make some more using that. And then she figured out a creative way to actually subdivide the land. They didn't think it would subdivide when she bought it. But she figured out a creative way to do that. And anyways, the long story is that plot of land ended up funding large portions of their work in overseas in missions in Southeast Asia. And it also funded most of the kids' way through college. And to this day, they are able to supplement their income using the investment. And she found out a way to buy goats from Australia and started a goat farm in Nepal, and that goat farm is really thriving, and also bought a plot of land up in Kentucky. It is developing kind of an RV park and and putting cabins on the land. Basically, it's going to be their retirement. So anyways, that's the story of how my mom turned 2 pennies into almost $1 million over a bunch of years. She did it on the side. She wasn't an expert in anything that she did. It was just a passion project. And I think I love that story because, well, you know, I'm part of the story, but even bigger than that, I love it because it's a story of faith. It's a story of how she just did the next thing and trusted God in that whole process. It was kind of this faith adventure where she was just watching for how God was moving and listening to His voice, and then being open to be creative about looking for ideas that nobody else saw, right? And I love that too because it's also an entrepreneurial story of just looking for opportunities, being open to what's there, you know, whether it's trinkets in the market or dogs, you know, that nobody else kind of saw that opportunity, or land that people were overlooking as not valuable. It turns out it was really valuable. And so I've tried to kind of follow that. Following those footsteps a little bit, not quite to that degree, but when my son was born, he was born in Thailand, and we were living in Nepal, and we actually took and started our own little 2 pennies fund. I took a couple dollars, well, I cheated, I used $2, took him to the market and bought some whalebone keychains, and when we came back to the States, kind of sold those off, and I've been doubling and flipping that fund, and I've got about $1,000 saved up now, and I'm looking for the next thing to invest in, just to leave that as a heritage for my kids, and for both of trusting God and seeing what He can do with it, and also just an opportunity to teach them about how God provides and leads, and you can change you can actually change your family tree with your 2 pennies, which is so powerful for me to even think of now that I have little kids of my own.